My people, come on in here. Come on in here, undefeated. Let's go. Please hit that like button on your way in. Please hit that like button on your way in. Yes, sir. We tapped in today. We're not going to worry you long. Please come on in. Hit that like button on your way in, please. Please hit that like button. Let's get it started. How you guys doing today? A few that's in here, tapping in today. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. I am Coach Sean. Tapping in with you today from rainy Madison, Alabama. How you guys doing today? Hope your day's been well. Hope everything's went well with you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling well. Alabama football is alive and well. You understand what I'm saying? Much love to all of you that's here right now. Really excited to talk a little Alabama football with you guys really quickly. Not gonna worry you long. Hacker Music, what's up with you, bro? See you up in here, Hacker. How you doing, man? Good to see you, man. Drewski, what's up with you, boy? How you feeling, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Pleasure to tap in with you guys, man. Please hit that like button if you guys can on your way in. Not gonna worry you long. Just want to tap in and talk a few things about Bama football. And we're going to get it cracked off, man. How you guys doing, man? How you been? How you feeling? How was your day? Man, it's raining not bad out there, dog. Drewski, what's going on with you, my brother? How you feeling, Hacker Music? Keyway LA. What's up, Roderick? How you doing, man? Good to see you, bro. Good to see you, little partner. Shout out to Ath282 Eagles. You already know what it is. Shout out to Tyreek. Shout out to Man. Shout out to Isaiah. Shout out to all the little dominant dogs that came from our squad that did their thing. Shout out to Quiz, who's now on the Eagles. Now on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shout out to Quiz. Shout out to everybody who came from that team. Shout out to Chadarius Townsend. Shout out to everybody who came from that team. You know what I mean? Please hit the like button on you guys way in. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to worry you long. We're not going to worry you long, man. We want to tap in real quick and talk about a few little topics and, keep it going. Seen a lot of different things about Coach DeBoer this week. I read a really, really, really interesting article about Coach DeBoer and, his insight, his keys, if you will, to winning, right? But before I talk about that, before I talk about what Coach DeBoer said, I want to give a special round of disrespect to that Urban Meyer, what he said. I talked about this last night for a few seconds, but I wanted to touch base on it again really quickly. Urban Meyer and the Ohio State athletic director, Gene, whatever his name is, Gene, I forgot his last name, but still sunny right now here in Boaz. Nah, it's coming super down out here. Hacker Music. It's crazy right now. But yeah, Gene Upshaw, is that his name? And Urban Meyer, both of these guys were absolutely crazy. Urban, of course, talking about NIL is cheating, this, that, and the third. What's up, Eric Burrow? How you doing, man? Roll Tide to you, Eric. So to hear Urban Meyer talk about how NIL is cheating is one of the most crazy oxymorons I've probably ever come across in my life. Right? You work for a university that poached Caleb Downs, that paid him and left University of Alabama's roster. You did the same with a couple of other young men. You did the same with a young man, a running back from Ole Miss, whose last name is Judkins. So to hear Urban Meyer talk about what's cheating and what's not cheating is astronomically funny to me, right? It's astronomically funny to me. Hey, roll tide to you, Eric, man. It's a blessing to be here, brother. Tap in, hit that like button. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, to hear Urban Meyer talk that ridiculous stuff is really crazy to me. People need to go back and watch that 30 for 30 for Florida, right? Bro, you had cats who smoke people and everything on your roster, right? So these cats was blazing blunts before the game. Like, of all people, you work for Ohio State. You have a position there, had a position there. What's up, Larry Lodge? Roll tide to you, Larry. So to hear this guy talk about what's cheating when these guys spent an astronomical amount of money to assemble a roster that they have now is absolutely, utterly, I'm flabbergasted hearing him talk about that. Hearing Urban Meyer talk about that. I'm absolutely flabbergasted to hear him say that. Right? So, and then to hear the athletic director talking about every win that Michigan had against Ohio State should be vacated, should have an asterisk by it. Man, you deserve to be slapped to the Everglades for that. You understand? Like, of all people, Ohio State people talking about some cheating. Boy, if y'all don't stop it with that, man, right? You around here paying millions of dollars to kids who barely 21 years old. Man, if you don't stop it. I thought that was laughable to me. It just was laughable. I had to bring it up again. It was laughable to hear these two guys talk about what's cheating and what's not cheating. Stop it. Knock it off, man. Knock it off, Urban. Knock it off, Mr. Gene. Stop it, bro. You all know what's going on in college football. You all know what's illegally legal right now, right? So it's no reason to sit and try to take the high horse as if Ohio State isn't doing the same exact thing on a bigger level, I might add. So shout out to Urban Meyer. Shout out to Mr. Gene, their athletic director. Hacker Music says, I heard them talking about an interview with Damani this morning, but I missed that. I don't know who the interview is with. If you go to YouTube and you just type in Domani Jackson, it'll pop up. You'll see it. Just go to YouTube in your search bar and just type in Domani Jackson. And you'll definitely see it because it's the most recent interview he done. That's what I did. I just went into it and typed in Domani Jackson, and the interview pops right up. It really does. Shout out to Eric Burrow. I'm doing good, Eric, man. Just enjoying this rainy weather from inside the home right now, talking a little Bama football. A few real topics I want to talk about. First and foremost, though, what's up, Ernest Roper? How you doing, Ernest? Roll tide to you, brother. Please hit that like button on your way in. Much love to you, Ernest. Coach DeBoer really gave some good points, man, when they talked to him about his philosophy and things that he wanted to do while at Alabama. If that music is too loud, guys, please let me know. If it's okay, please let me know. In the headphones, in the earpieces, you can barely hear it sometimes. So please let me know if that music is worrisome and it is too loud. I'll take care of that. So yeah, Kalen talked about a lot of different things on this show, and I was excessively proud to hear some of the stuff he said. He was on the Ryan Russo. Do you say it Rousseau? Is that how you say his name? Ryan Rousseau? Okay, appreciate it, Ernest. Thank you. He emphasized the importance of reinstalling a culture of toughness, right? The camaraderie within the program amongst kids. I think the camaraderie here is pretty good. What's up with you, Lance? Appreciate that, Lance. Thank you, man. My boy Double L, Larry Lodge in the house. What's up, Larry? So I think the culture's okay, guys. I think the culture's okay. I don't think the culture here is bad, but I think what Coach DeBoer means is he wants to put his own stamp on it. He wants to put his own finger on it. What's up, Clinton? Roll Tide with you, Clinton. How you doing, man? How you doing? I think that's what he was saying. I think that he want to put his own stamp on it, man. He wants to put his own stamp on it. He talked about taking over the helm, obviously for the GOAT. He stressed the significance of balance and physical toughness, right, in shaping this new form of Crimson Tide. He highlighted the necessity of fostering an attitude of resiliency and unity. And I think that's what we need. I think the unity word is sort of overused at times, but I do believe with everything that's going on in college football, you do need some leaders to step above everybody else and really preach family, really preach. It's no point in leaving, guys, right? It's no point in leaving. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that need to be re-signified, re-identified, if you will. And I think right now Alabama's doing a great job of that with people like Tyler Booker, Malachi Moore, even Jaleel Hurley, who's a young kid, but easily could have left just like the rest of them did. But he didn't. He stayed, right? So I have a lot of respect for those kids, and I do understand resiliency and unity. What's up, Sheldon Redmond? How you doing, man? Roll Tide to you, Sheldon. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for tapping in. Coach DeBoer also talked about how it was one of the goals in the spring, and he done it everywhere he's been, to reshape the attitude of the locker room, to bring in what he thinks is toughness, creating a family environment, if you will. And, that's big, man, because when I played my sophomore year, that was the best team I was on. We was all close. We hung together. We went to the movies together. We went out to eat together. We hung together in the dorms together. Now they have apartments, so you really don't get that camaraderie of hanging in the dorms together, right? We all had wrestling matches, floor against floor. See who was the toughest. That's how you gain respect. So I think when you take those kind of things out of football, you do take a little bit of the unity out. You really do. That bonding, if you will, when you young men. Think back when you're 21 and 22 years old, getting out in the yard, wrestling, going at each other. That's how you get close, man. I know it sounds really archaic to some that never done that, but that's how you get close. What's up, A. Watt? Roll Tide to you, A. Watt, man. Good to see you, brother. Roll Tide to you. So Coach DeBoer talked about that with Ryan Russillo. He talked about those things. He talked about how when you talk about Alabama, it's synonymous with championship, with that word, championship. Expectations. This university will not be outdone by anybody when it comes to high performance, consistency, things of that nature. Alabama won't be outdone, right? So you really have to step your game up, no matter what coach you are, to follow somebody like Nick Saban, man. I don't say this lightly when I say you got to have some large testes to follow Coach Saban, right? It'd been easy for Coach DeBoer to leave and go to another program that's not a winner, just to say he built that program up too, right? That's the fun, building a program up, reaping the rewards of it. It's hard to go to a program that's already established, right? A program that's won 6 national championships, right? That's very, very tough, man. And you got to be a different kind of coach to want that kind of pressure. So I got a lot of respect for Coach DeBoer. I got a lot of respect for the coaching staff he's brought with him. And I think this guy's going to have the ultimate success. I think he's going to have it quickly. Will there be bumps in the road? Of course. Of absolute course, there's going to be bumps in the road. But I think Coach DeBoer is made of the right stuff, right? He has the right chest to deal with it, unlike others. Coach DeBoer talked about how you can win games, but to win championships, it takes a whole nother level of just bringing it all together, right? It takes a little bit of luck and what you're all about. So I really, really, really enjoyed the segment of Coach DeBoer, what he talked about. He talked about the toughness, both mental and physical. It's something that, again, the program has been all about in the past, right? Mental and physical toughness to us is nothing new at the University of Alabama. So, to follow Coach Saban and try to invigor or re-establish your version of toughness, what you deem necessary as physical and mental toughness. I'm anxious to see what that looks like. What's up, Dexter? Roll Tide, Dex. How you doing, man? Dexter says Urban Meyer hates Coach Saban, and he wasn't a candidate for the Bama job. Coaches are scared because Coach DeBoer, yeah, got Coach Saban's inheritance, just like Kirby did UGA. All facts, Dexter. You know, it's always a little bit extra put on it when they talk about Alabama, right? It's always a little extra sauce they put on it, and we both know why. We all know why, and that's okay. That's okay because we're gonna try to prove them wrong this season, and I think we got the right coach to do it. But Coach DeBoer talked about the mental toughness of following Coach Saban. He talked about his version of toughness. He talked about the gridiron and things he had been through and things he's seen at other places. You know, I thought that was very, very, very interesting. I did. I thought that was very interesting for him to talk about the things that he got frustrated with and how they were perceived and the physical toughness, because offensively, you know you're going to throw the ball. He talked about how to be physical while throwing the ball. What's up, Rick Smith? How you doing, man? Roll Tide to you, man. So it was a very, very good interview with Ryan Russillo. He said he wants to create his own attitude and be able to have a lot of kids buy in and the belief and the confidence through preparation. When it comes to critical times, right? So I really, really enjoyed that interview with Coach DeBoer. I thought it was prevalent to what we're trying to do here at the University of Alabama. I thought that not only did Coach DeBoer understand that you don't have to follow in Coach Saban's shoes, like follow him, but follow him in your own shoes. You don't have to wear Coach Saban's shoes. Do it your own way, right? And I think Coach DeBoer will do that. I really do. I believe he has the right thing, the right stuff to get it done here. And I'm really, really, really anxious to see what the future holds. What's up, JLB? How you doing, man? Hit that like button if you guys can. JLB say, I'm genuinely excited for Nick Sheraton and Kane Womack under Coach DeBoer. Yeah, I am too. These guys are primed for success. You know, I won't go overboard, man, and you know, I had to step out my own fan shoes sometime. I really do, because if you let my fandom take over, I'll tell you right now we're going 12-0 and things like that. I don't think that's the case. I think one of these away games is going to reach up and bite us. I really do. But I think Alabama's going to win at least 10 to 11 games, man. I think we'll either go 11-1 or 10-2. I really do believe that. I don't think 12-0 is out of reach, but I don't think 12-0 would be something we'll be going this year. Just my humble opinion. JLB says, didn't Indiana have a top 30 defense under Womack? I'm not sure where they were ranked at, JLB. I'm not sure where exactly they were ranked at, but I can tell you this. When Kane Womack was at Indiana and all these guys were together, they had the best overall team that they've had in Indiana in probably a decade and a half. Right? They had one of the best football teams Indiana has seen in recent memory. Right? Yeah, me too, JLB. Me too, man. Me too. First year, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. I'll be happy, man. You know, you never want to lose, of course, but I'm a realist, bro. I keep it real. The truth is in the details. I'm not a fan that's going to be blinded by my love for the team. I expect them to have a great season. This is an extremely young team in places, man. It's an extremely young team in certain places. And I really believe there might be some games that might be a little tough. That's a whole fact. What's up, Matthew Newton? How you doing, man? Roll Tide to you, Matthew. Roll Tide, bro. Um, yeah, just one game at a time, Ricky. That's all we got to do, man. One game at a time. Um, I think we'll be just fine, right? The Wisconsin game we talked about last night, as you all know, is at 11 o'clock. Miss Kamal, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Roll Tide to you for sure. Good to see you up in here. Thank you for tapping in. I appreciate you. That's a whole fact. And Luke Fickell is a good coach, man. This guy's a good coach. Don't overestimate him or don't underestimate him. If you look at what he's doing, he's definitely trying to pull a Texas from 2 years ago, from Bryce's year. I think those guys are an hour ahead in time, I think, right? I don't know, Wisconsin. I'm not sure if they if they on Chicago time, that same time. I'm not sure if they're an hour ahead or not, but I can say he's definitely trying to pull a Texas, get Bama up in here early, right? What's up, Adam Lamparillo? Shout out to Adam, my broski. All right, Dex, I'm finna get your questions right after this. I appreciate the question too. I'm gonna leave it on screen so I won't forget it. I do believe that Wisconsin is trying to pull a Texas on us. Let's get Bama in here early at 11 a.m., right? Got us warming up at 9:30, right? In the morning. So they definitely trying to pull a fast one on us. Their band is gonna be sloppy. Their fans aren't going to come way out here that early. So they did that on purpose. It's a big Fox noon game. So think about that. Why would you put that in? You could have easily had the late game, right? You chose this. So, it's just one of those things, man. These away schools are going to try to take every advantage they can to defeat Alabama. These away schools are going to try to juice us over every way they can. So we just got to be prepared for it, man. Yeah, JLB, I knew they was pretty good, man. I knew they was pretty good. Dexter says, Sean, who are the 3 teams that can give us the most problems? Hopefully we have an early loss, pretty much if we had to have one. If I had to say 3 teams, man, of course, Georgia. That's a very losable game. Georgia's a very losable game. The one I've been telling everybody about is Oklahoma on the road. So Georgia, Oklahoma, and either the LSU game or either the Tennessee game, unfortunately. Now, I'm not of the mindset that Tennessee's going to beat us because I don't have that much faith in Nico Lamalevea. I apologize if I'm saying your last name wrong. Nico, right? Nico's a first-year starter. Playing first-year starters on the road is tough. Playing them at home is even tougher. I don't know, man. I can't bring myself to say Tennessee is a losable game. I would say Georgia, Oklahoma, and LSU are the games that I would definitely be weary about. Oklahoma, even though they have LSU, even though they have a first-year starter, Nussmeier, Nuss has played a lot. You see him in the bowl game. They didn't even need the other guy. They didn't need Jaden Daniels. Nuss went out there and lit it up. Like he threw for like 300. Lamalevea. So, Nuss is proven, bro. Like he hadn't started, of course, at LSU, but that kid can play. Go back and watch what LSU did in the bowl game. That kid was no joke, right? Nico, I had the one game I seen him in the bowl game. I think he threw for like 159. He ran around the field a lot. He just don't scare me like that, not yet. Not until he gets a good year under his belt. So I don't expect us to lose all three of those games. I think the Oklahoma game on the road is going to be very tough for Alabama. I really do. I think the Georgia game at home is going to be very tough. Now that's a very winnable game for Alabama. Kirby is very stubborn. Kirby is not going to spread you wide for very long. Kirby wants to beat you the way he knows how to play football, in a phone booth with great defense, a la Coach Saban. Kirby feels he can do that to everybody in the country. Kirby's in the last 7 games is 1-6 against Alabama. So you better believe he wants this game. Their fans want this game. So that game is a very losable game. Shout out to my brother Patriot Life, my broski from another Moski. Coming in hot, broski. Roll Tide undefeated. Good evening. What's up, Patriot Life? Roll Tide to you, brother. Thank you extremely much for that. We really, really, really appreciate you, man. As always, doing your thing. Much love and respect to you, and thank you very, very, very much, man. That's a whole fact. Willamore, what's up with you, Willamore? How you doing? Shout out to my broski Patriot Life, man. Bama Fan 95, what up with you, bro? How you feeling, man? Good to see you, man. A Watt in here. What's up, A Watt? How you doing, man? So those are 3 games that I believe is gonna give us problems, right? I personally of the mindset, I think Alabama's gonna beat LSU. I think LSU gonna be a tough game as usual, but I think we'll win that game. I think the Georgia game is gonna be extremely tough. I think the Oklahoma game is gonna be extremely tough. That Oklahoma game on the road to me is going to be exceptionally tough because I understand Oklahoma's crowd. That crowd will be just as good as any crowd you play against. Those are some prideful people in Oklahoma. And when Bama comes to town, those guys are going to pack the house, as everybody does. When Bama comes to your stadium, you have record sellouts. We've had seven record sellouts when Alabama play on the road. Right? 7. Unless you had they broke some attendance. I think what was it? Tennessee broke an attendance record. Arkansas broke an attendance. It's like 7 teams that when they played Alabama, whatever their prior attendance record was, they broke it when they played Bama. So we tend to do that. We bring everybody out. We are everybody's Super Bowl, bro. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's Super Bowl. So it is what it is, bro. I mean, you know what it is when you become a Bama fan, bro. You know what it is. You know what it is when you play for Alabama. It used to be, what's up, Bob Rutherford? How you doing, man? It used to be kids came here just for that. I think it was Ryan Anderson that said he loved making crowds shut up, right? He gets elated every time he can stick it to some away crowd. Seeing them clear the stands early brought him great joy, right? Those guys just built different back then, man. Ryan Anderson, Tim Williams, them dudes just built different. You know, they enjoyed the challenge of going on the road, playing against these teams. They enjoyed disappointing your fans. They took it personal when you booed them, right? So it is what it is, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. It's something I want to talk to you guys about, man. I want to know, did you guys see the interview that Courtney Morgan did? You know, he did a very, 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 probably one of the best interviews I've saw as far as interviews with him, 24/7 Sports. Courtney did a great interview, man. And I really hope you guys tap in with him. He did a great interview with Carl Reed and Smoke Dixon. As you all know, Gerald Dixon played here at Bama. He was a cornerback here. Him and Carl Reed did an exceptional job interviewing Courtney Morgan. Great interview, man. One of the best I've seen as far as from Courtney Morgan, the best I've seen. Shout out to Carl Reed. Shout out to Smoke Dixon. And shout out to the general manager himself of Alabama football, Courtney Morgan. That's the whole fact. Some of the things that Courtney Morgan talked about were so prevalent. It was outstanding, man. If you guys want to see it, just type in 24/7 Sports Courtney Morgan interview. And it'll pop right up. It was an exceptional interview, man. Shout out to Bruce Seegers. What's up, Bruce? How you doing, man? Hit that like button on you guys way in. Ernest Roper says, with the running back room being so good and deep, Coach DeBoer will shorten the game. Depends on how the defensive plays. I think that may be prevalent in some games, Ernest. That may be prevalent in some games, but some games you're going to have to score points. We got a young secondary. Even with the transfers, I expect our secondary to take a few weeks to really get in game shape, if you will. So our offense is going to have to score some points. Man. And so Courtney Morgan, Lisa Fitzhugh. What's up, Lisa? It's good to see you. Lisa says 100% agree with Coach Son on the Courtney Morgan interview. I watched it all. 3 were excellent in their respective roles, well prepared. And Courtney gets, Lisa. Shout out to Lisa. If you need to get in shape and you really want some motivation to get your body right, holla at Lisa Fitzhugh. I'm trying to tell you. Shout out to Lisa. You know what I'm saying? Lisa, it was a great interview. Everybody should go check that interview out and support Coach Reed and Coach Morgan and a former player, Gerald Dixon, Smoke Dixon, as we call him. So here's the thing. They asked Courtney Morgan. And watching this interview, man, it really let me know where we went wrong with Coach Saban, I guess, toward the end of Coach Saban's career. Because watching that interview really let me see how much has changed in college football and why you need a general manager, why you need a guy like Courtney Morgan, right? You need this guy. You need guys like Courtney. So they asked him, they said, what is a general manager job? What is the GM job? Really break it down to us. What is the GM job? Courtney said, from a 50-foot view, the 50-foot answer, meaning the short answer is, it's bringing together elite individuals for the building and to help lead the direction to a national championship. In essence, it is his job to bring in coaches, personnel departments, recruiting evaluators, evaluate kids, all these things that Coach Saban was doing himself and depending on these coaches to do, while Coach DeBoer actually coaches football, right? Courtney is the guy that puts it all together. Courtney is the guy that brings in people to aid and assist him in putting together the best Bama roster, coaches that you could possibly put together. And I think it shows me now that this is something that Coach Saban should have had. He should have had a buffer, somebody to oversee everything outside of schematic football. He should have had somebody to take a burden off of him. You don't have to look at every player. You don't have to evaluate every player, right? Coach Saban was just such a grinder. It was up to him. He wanted to know everything about everything, everything about everything, and everything about everything about his program, right? So I appreciate Courtney Morgan and the job he does. I agree. I appreciate it, man. Coach Saban, he just, Coach Saban come from a different era, but with social media nowadays, guys, as big as it is with compliance. When I was in college, we had 2 compliance officers. Now they have 50. They have a compliance department now because they send graphics out. They do online evaluations now. They do everything now. It's totally, totally different. So they ask him, So, coach, okay, that's your job, but who did you bring in? Coach said, this is his words, I might add. Courtney Morgan said, due to Bama having more resources, meaning Bama had a bigger budget than Washington. I don't think that's a secret to anyone. He was able to bring in Aaron Hodges from TCU and Ohio State. Very connected cat. He was able to bring in Jatavius Sanders from NC State. He was able to bring in Tony Jones from Michigan. He was able to bring in Jared McElwain, son of Jim McElwain. He was able to bring in Bob Wellington, who was already at Alabama, and the infrastructure for how recruiting is ran. He was able to build an entire personnel department just for these things. Just for these things. And these are guys that Coach DeBoer could trust, right? I can trust these guys are going to bring in the best talent, the best evaluators, the best recruiters, not just the best coaches and you suck at recruiting, not just the best recruiters and you suck at coaching. Nah, we got a whole separate department just for that. So you got to give Courtney Morgan's love, man. He said it's a difference in roster management and overseeing evaluations, which I know that just from playing ball and coaching the game at the high school level and the 7-on-7 level. Roster management. What is roster management, Courtney? Roster management is projecting the future of the roster in the future and the roster at current. So really, what does that mean, guys? He's projecting. Okay, we have 4 tight ends. We got 2 seniors. We got 2 underclassmen. Let's get them paid with NIL. The seniors are going to be gone, so that means we need to recruit 2, right? That's projecting for the future and projecting for your current roster. What holes do we need to fill? What gaps do we need to fill, right? So you got a compliance guy in-house in the athletic department, in the football building, telling you we're short right here. We don't got enough offensive linemen. We're too many right here. We got way too many outside linebackers and defensive ends. So he's managing the roster for the future and for the current. Managing the transfer portal. Remember, that's roster management. That's not overseeing evaluation. That's roster management, right? So the numbers are always going to be right. The 85 is always going to be where it needs to be. Then he oversees evaluations and recruiting of players. Eval first, go get them second. He broke it down like that. He said the evaluation comes first. And I know that just from, all of us know that. All the coaches who've been on this panel know that. The evaluation is first. You find the kids. We all know about the 5 stars, the 4 stars. Well, some 3 stars that hadn't went to camps are just as good as 5 stars. Go ask Josh Jacobs. Go ask Marcel Darius. Go ask Jatavius, the tight end from Texas. So what's up, Nicole? Nicole Covington, Roll Tide to you. So glad you in here. So the evaluation is first. Please hit that like button if you guys can on the way in. The evaluation is first, guys. You got to go out and find these kids. You got to go out and see these kids in camps, in 7-on-7. Everything that bolsters talent, you got to go find. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate them emojis, sweetie. Roll Tide to you, my friend, for real. It's just like an A&R in music. An A&R is in clubs trying to find talent. They in churches trying to find talent as Fantasia, before American Idol. An A&R's job is to find talent who can chirp, who can sing their butts off. Bring me talent. Bring the label owner talent, right? Well, Courtney Morgan and some of his staff is in charge of finding these diamonds in the rough. We know the 5 stars, but finding these Josh Jacobs, right? Finding these Jalen Armour Davises, finding these Marcel Dariuses, finding these Eddie Jacksons. All these kids are 3-star guys. Finding these kids who can play. Hadn't camped, so a lot of people don't know about them, right? This is 2024. You have to camp nowadays. If you don't camp, a lot of people won't know about you. I know that myself. I've been to umpteenth camps. It's always a kid who's quiet. He's not saying nothing to nobody. He's not loud like most of the other kids. You're like, who is that kid? He gets out there to play and he is dominant. Dominant. So he talked about that. He talked about the recruiting of players. The evaluation comes first, and then you got to go get them. That comes next. You got to go get them. You got to go get them, man. You got to go out in the field. You have to recruit the parents. You have to recruit the kid. You have to do your background checks to make sure he fits what you do. You got to go get them, right? So in essence, in a nutshell, in my humble experience, what's up, Alice Murray? How you doing, man? Courtney Morgan created an entire personnel department, something you see at the NFL level. He created a personnel department, something that Coach Saban never done, never had. Had people that worked those odd and end jobs, but never had an entire department devoted to one thing, personnel. Never had an entire department strictly devoted to one thing, recruiting. He had coaches here, there, out there, over there, out west, down south, Midwest, right? And they still have that. But an entire recruiting department, an entire personnel department. Courtney Morgan, man. Courtney Morgan. So this guy is great, man. So what did Courtney Morgan learn? What did he learn, guys? I wrote these notes down. He said, coming from a group of 5 level, Courtney said he had to do everything. And I know that playing at HBCU, those coaches have to delegate everything. When you're at Alabama, you have personnel departments to do these things for you. You have a compliance assistant, you have a compliance officer, you have recruiting directors, you have personnel directors, right? When you're at a group of 5, HBCU, transcripts, the coach do it. Itineraries, the coach do it. Evaluations, the coach do it. Tape, the coach do it. Film study, the coach do it. Everything, man. He talked about how Jatavius Sanders was a high school Georgia coach. He has great relationships in Georgia. They was all talking about, Kalen couldn't recruit in the South and this, that, and the third. And even I had my doubts. I want to see, can this guy recruit in the South? I mean, I don't think we were wrong to doubt it. I mean, hell, he coached in Washington, the Pacific North damn West. Right? The hell do you know about Louisiana and gumbo and shrimps and stuff like that? Right? Show me. I'm not wrong for doubting you. Show me. Right? And I think he did a great job of that. Right? You don't got to go talking like Brian Kelly and faking your accent. Just get in there and get some kids out of there and show me. And he did a great job of that. You got to give credit where credit is due. Sanders has great relationships in Georgia. So that's one plus. Aaron Hodges, Midwest guy, Ohio State and TCU guy, tireless relationships, big time recruiter, right? Big time personnel guy, right? So, great coaches and great personnel. It shouldn't be any different. These guys have been coaches. They're just on the personnel side now. They understand what to say to kids. They understand what to say to the parents. They understand what to say to get them on visits. They understand what to say to get you not to visit such and such a school and come visit ours. Right? So you got director recruiting and you have player personnel. Now, I knew what the difference in these two was just from my own playing days and my own high school days. Carla Hinton. What's up, Carla? How you doing, man? Good to see you, Carla. Coach Sean, I really appreciate you and the love you have for Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, Carla. Much love to you. For sure. All the undefeated, the AAA people, everybody who we all in here together, man. You know what I mean? Tim Nolan, Roll Tide to you, broski, for sure. So when you're talking about a director of recruiting, is that difference? Is that a difference in player personnel? Think about the key words in that question. Director of recruiting and player personnel, right? Yes, there's a difference. When you're talking about the director of recruiting, um, when you're talking about the director of recruiting, you're talking about sort about a campaign, right? A campaign with the what do? They create campaigns with the social media department. They're in charge of every facet of recruiting, right? The recruiting strategies that's given out to the coaches, um, to keep the coaches in line with the call sheets, the text sheets. What call sheets is, and they've been had that since I played. They give you this big sheet of paper. It's got all the kids that you want to talk to today. You have days you call these kids, right? All the kids on that sheet, you got to call them. That's a call sheet. Hey, what's up with you, Sean? How you doing? I just called to check on you, man. Make sure you're all right. Let you know Bama football thinking about you. We coming to your game. Blah 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 blah. What's up, Kareem Hood? Roll Tide to you, Ronnie Jones. What's up with you, bro? How you feeling, man? To both of you guys. Roll Tide to you, man. So those are call sheets, man. Every college guy, when I played ball, they had call sheets. You had a sheet of paper. When I coached high school, they had call sheets. You know, these kids who were going to be called by these coaches from all these different universities. You know, the kid knows when they're going to call. He has a schedule, right? Schedule time. They know, well, Ole Miss is going to be calling you at 6 o'clock tonight. So be free. Coach such and such is going to call you at 6 o'clock tonight. So those are call sheets. The recruiting director is over that. The text sheets, the social media campaign, everything that has to do with getting this kid and bringing him to the university, that's the recruiting director. Shout out to Kareem Hood, member for 3 months. Thank you, Kareem. Appreciate you for being a member for 3 months. Much love to you. Anniversary is here, and much love and greatly appreciated to you, Kareem. Roll Tide, my bro. Roll Tide. Yeah, we need them call facts, Bama. Hey, Bama fan 95. All facts. All facts. Khalil Cooper, Roll Tide with you, man. How you feeling, brother? Good to see you, man. You guys hit that like button if you don't mind. Rod Kaysen, Roll Tide from Seattle. Roll Tide, Rod. Good to see you out there in the Pacific Midwest. I mean, Pacific Northwest or Pacific West. Yeah. That's what it is. Excuse me. Rod, Roll Tide to you, brother. Good to see you out there, man. You know, good to see you out there in Seattle. You know what I mean? Much love to you for that. So yeah, that's a recruiting director. This guy is in charge of every single last thing that has to do with recruiting. He has full campaigns on these kids, full campaigns with social media, full campaigns with bringing in graphics, getting with the compliance and the personnel people and putting together graphics for these kids, doing everything you can do to set up visits, parents, calls, call sheets, text sheets, everything that the young man likes is your job as the recruiting director to make sure he has it. Personnel director, that's the director of recruiting. You know what I mean? Player personnel director. He is strictly dedicated to the roster. The player personnel guy is strictly dedicated to the roster. Attrition at the end of the year. What's attrition, Coach Sean? Attrition is this. Attrition is where they tell you your scholarship is a 4-year scholarship. You're signing a 4-year scholarship. That's not true. That scholarship, nowhere in, and I just want to say, I still got mine hanging on the wall. The wording has not changed outside of a few snacks they can give legally now. Attrition is where they do not renew your scholarship on a year. Let's just say you come in, you don't play well. Antonio Alfano, you don't play well. You're not going to class. You are completely not performing up to the standards of a 5-star player. They can attrition you, meaning they can take your scholarship money and not renew it. And you will have to transfer unless you're going to pay out of your pocket to stay as a student at the University of Alabama. So they have attrition at the end of the year sometimes. The player personnel directors over that. Portal needs, gap fields, as I talked about earlier. We got 4 tight ends left, right? It's an example. We have more than 4 tight ends, but I'm just using that as an example. 2 of them are seniors, 2 of them are sophomores. It's the player personnel guy that comes behind them, checks their temperature, checks their NIL to make sure they're not going to transfer per se. We're losing 2 guys. We got a backfield tight end with 2 more tight ends. We need to recruit 2 more tight ends, possibly 3. That's player personnel, right? He makes sure that 85-man roster stays Trump tight. He makes sure that 85-man roster doesn't go over the limit. He makes sure all the red shirts are red-shirted. And just the basic needs and necessities of the roster. That's Courtney Morgan's job with all that. He's over all of that. He has a team. He has a recruiting side, and he has a player personnel side. He's over that entire thing. He is the general manager of it all. Right? Coach Saban wanted to delegate it all himself. And you just can't do that in 2024, man. In 2024, you need a general manager. Courtney Morgan was instrumental in getting Caden to come back. Caden missed his boys. Coach Saban retired. Coach Saban was all these kids know. Coach Saban retired. Kid got shook up. Kid made a mistake, transferred. Grass wasn't green on the other side. He missed his boys. He spent spring break with them. I want to come back with my boys. I made a mistake. Right? Next thing you know, Kane's back at Bama where he belongs. Roll Tide to Corey Waldrop. What's up, Corey? Roll Tide, Corey Waldrop. So that's Courtney Morgan in a nutshell, guys. This guy's over a lot of things that Alabama does. He does a great job. We're lucky to have this young man, right? He talked about what's the difference in conference to conference and building a roster in the Big Ten, in the SEC. He said, building an SEC roster, he said the number one thing, hands down, is high school recruiting, not transfer portal. He said the transfer portal, you bolster, not build. Let me say that again. You bolster, not build. The transfer portal is you fill holes here and there with good, solid guys. He said you're not trying to hit a home run in the transfer portal. You just want good, solid guys that can play. And I agree with that. It may be 1 or 2 home runs in the transfer portal, but it's a lot of solid players who can play ball and give you some solid depth or a solid starter. So shout out to Courtney Morgan, man. This guy is over it all. Recruiting, evaluations, transcripts, player personnel, everything, man. This guy has departments and pretty much built a personnel department for Alabama football. That's some NFL stuff, bro. I'm telling you. I know personally. So shout out to him. Nicole Covington. What's up with you, girl? So that's what it is. You got to get this man his respect. I think Alabama is lucky to have him. I think in 2024, everybody's going to start to copy us with that. You know, I guess you could say I can't say we copied Michigan because they left Michigan to come work at Alabama. But in 2024, the general manager will be a hot commodity. Having one guy delegate and regulate all the facets and nuances of recruiting, player personnel, the roster, the compliance, who's going to transfer, who's not going to transfer, red shirts, all of that. all of that. You got to have somebody do that. Your coach can't be in charge of that, man. So that's where it's at, guys. That's where it's at. Shout out to Courtney Morgan, man. If you guys see Courtney Morgan on Twitter, on any social media, give him a big follow. Tell him thank you, because that dude is working his ass off right now, overtime. JB Baker, roll tide from Japan. Roll tide, brother. How are you, JB? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Konnichiwa genki desu ka? Niju doro o ichi doro ni kayate kudasai. Yeah, you didn't know your boy speak that, did you? Yeah. Yeah. Multifaceted, right? Hey, my baby, my daughter laughing at me because she knows I can speak. She knows. So
that's all I hear all day.
Girl, will you get out the screen, please?
That's all I hear all day.
So, yeah, man. Shout out to Courtney Morgan. Love the fact that we giving this guy a chance, man. You know, shout out to JB Baker, man. Yeah, facts, J Mills. J Mills said it best, man. They killing it. Shout out to Buck. What's up, Buck? Man, thank you, Buck. I appreciate you, man, tapping in with me, brother. I appreciate all of you, man. Thank you. That's much love, Buck, J Mills, everybody, man. JLB, you in LA, you in Lower Alabama. I got some partners down there I played with, man. Rodney Howard, Jabari Jones. I got a lot of partners from down that way, man. You know what, Corey? I didn't, man. I think I'm just gonna keep it as JMHO Sports Talk, man. You know what I mean? The truth is just in the details. That's my starting line or catch line, whatever you want to call it, because I believe in that. Yeah, I've been saying that since I was in high school, man. I actually got that from one of my uncles a long time ago, and I thought it was prevalent when I got older. What's up, Corey P? How you doing, bro? What's cracking with you? So yeah, man, Courtney Morgan is very, very important. Very important, man, you know, in this day and age where you just can't recruit kids and let that be that, right? You got to have graphics. You got to have all these different bells and whistles with these kids nowadays, right? Because if you don't do it, Oregon's going to do it. If you don't do it, Texas is going to do it. If you don't do it, Ohio State is going to do it. So you got to get these kids what they want. You got to perform and put on the bells and whistles and do all these great things that kids nowadays like to have, right? Shout out to all the guys that Courtney brought in. You know, all the great guys, Aaron Hodges, Jatavius Sanders, all these guys that he brought in, man, who helps us. And I think Alabama is going to be still in good hands. I think come summer, you'll see even more players commit here, more players that can help us in what we're trying to do, more players that fit the schemes. They fit us schematically, offensive and defensive wise, okay? So I do believe we'll be just fine. We'll be just fine, man. And that's just my humble opinion. That's just my humble opinion, man, because no matter how much you want to deny it, the haters can say what they want. The people that dislike Alabama can say what they want. The people who love Alabama can say what they want. But here's the truth. Here's the truth. Look at the history of Alabama. Look at what we're doing. And look at Coach KD since he got to Alabama. Look at the details. And the truth is in the details. They can say what they want, man. It's the truth. Facts, Kareem. All facts, man. You know, they want Alabama to fall off so bad, man. Like it's almost ridiculous that they want Alabama to fall off so bad. It's almost astronomically ridiculous. That's why I really can't wait to get to fall camp. Corey P says, out of all the games, I'm kind of nervous about. Well, look, Corey P, you're nervous for good reason. Your nervousness serves you well because Missouri got a hell of a squad, and if you're not careful, that's another losable game. But the good thing is we play those guys in Tuscaloosa, so I feel good about that. Yeah, Carla, they're tired of us winning. They've been tired of Alabama. They so tired of Alabama. Coach Saban retired. I mean, guys, look no farther than this. Look no farther than this, man. When Coach Saban retired, teams were actually throwing parties and celebrating. It was the most ridiculous stuff I've ever seen in my entire life. You had people throwing parties and fiestas and all type of goofy stuff like that, man. Right? If that don't tell you the stronghold that Nicholas Lou Saban had on college football, won't nothing tell you. Like these damn fools was throwing fiestas because he retired, man. Like woohoo, jumping, clicking your heels and all that. So, bruh, I can't wait to fall camp. That's all I want to say. I can't wait to fall camp. That's all I want to say. Fall camp can't get here fast enough. Corey Waldrop says, do you think we'll have 1,000-yard receivers this year? Can I reserve judgment on that, Corey, until Ryan Williams gets here? I don't really know yet, Corey, because we've got a plethora of receivers. But I do think Ryan is going to put pressure on these guys, on these veterans to play. I would love for Ryan to come in and gain about 10 pounds, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Because Ryan attacks the top of the route. Ryan is a key receiver and one of the best receivers I've seen coming out of high school, and he's going to put pressure. If he can just learn the system, Ryan Williams is going to put pressure on these guys to play. I'm telling you. You know, Coach Sean ain't going to give it to you late, all the way straight. Shout out to everybody loves Ebony. Shout out to you, Ebony. It's good to see you in here. How are you, Ebony? Good to see you in here for sure. Just pathetic how they carried on. Yeah, Ebony. I seen people posting videos of cats like literally having full fiestas, like throwing parties and hugging like it's New Year's or something. I mean, look at these damn fools. They really partying because coach said, if that don't tell you guys, that's like the ultimate sign of respect to me. Our coach retired and you're so ecstatically happy because you think you actually got a chance now. You think the ass whippings are over. Nah. You think the belt to ass whippings are over. B2A. Nah. Yeah, Evan, it's good to see you, sweetie, for sure. Facts, JLB. So, you know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Washington managed to produce 3 with Bernard Law Williams. I'm leading strong, maybe, right? I just don't know yet, Corey, because I need to see which 3 receivers are going to start. Now, we all know Kobe. We all know Kendrick. We all know Jeremy Bernard. But I need to see Ryan Williams in this scheme. I need to see Rico Scott in this scheme. I need to see Amari Jefferson in this scheme, right? Show 44 said, yo, that shirt is fire. I need one. Yeah, this is my Mario shirt, bro. This is my Mario shirt, bro. I love my Mario Kart shirt. It's the one I go to the gym in. You know what I'm saying? That's my little Mario shirt, man. Yes, sir, it is. Shout out to you, Show. Shout out to Show 44. So, I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. I appreciate you guys tapping in with me, man. Coach Jay should be on here in a minute now with you guys. I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic about it. I feel fortunate that we have Courtney Morgan. I feel fortunate that we have a general manager in this day and age. I'm just happy about it. Tim Nolan says, I'm going to say yes, coach. Way too much talent. Washington had 2, I think. Yeah, but it was a lot of factors, Tim, that Washington had that we got to see if we have. Washington's offensive line was the best in the country. I think they gave up 9 sacks on the entire season. 12 sacks on it. We gave up 43, right? An Alabama record. So it's several things that we got to make sure is in congruence with what Washington done. Washington had a 5th-year senior at quarterback. A guy who been playing college football. He's playing college football at 23, going on 24 years old, right? So it's just a lot of factors, man. It's a lot of factors. Washington played in a conference to where a lot of teams didn't play man coverage the entire game. They played in the conference to where they played a lot of zone, a lot of pattern matching. You know, coming in the SEC, you're going to play the best pass rushers in the country. You're going to play some of the best secondary pieces in the country, and you're going to play some of the best defensive coaches in the country. You're not going to, I don't understand how you're going to go 5 wide every single last play here and nobody get a hand on your quarterback in this conference. It's a reason why we have more people drafted than anybody. So Alabama's facing an uphill battle, man. I'll just be straight up with you, right? We have the pieces to do it, and we have the capabilities, the coaches, the talent to do it. But make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. That Missouri game is going to be tough. What's up, Coach Jay?
What's up, Coach Sean?
You got it, man. Look, the Missouri game, tough. Oklahoma game, tough. Georgia game, tough. LSU game, tough. Tennessee game, tough. So make no mistake about it, man. Make no mistake about it. I was talking to them about Courtney Morgan. I went on Coach Jay to tell them that I watched the interview. Did you watch that interview with 24 Sports with Coach Carl Reed and Smoke Dixon, who played here with Courtney Morgan? Awesome interview, bro. Awesome interview. Talked about what a general manager does. Talked about his responsibilities. Talked about how he hired his own department in 2 segments, in the director of recruiting segment and the player personnel segment, who do 2 different things. Talked about what each side done. Talked about coming from the Power 5, how he had to do a lot of different things, transcripts, itineraries, evaluations, film study. Now he has a whole department to do that while he still got his hands on everything himself. You have to have a general manager nowadays. It cannot be the head coach trying to regulate all these different things, graphics, recruits, parents. You got to have people on board with you, Coach Jay, to help you manage all this stuff. Your thoughts?
No, you're right. For the most part, and like I said before, we're no longer in an era where Nick Saban has to carry everything and he has to be the head coach and the general manager off the field. You need a full team. You need a complete unit in order for you to help out, especially with the transfer portal and especially when it comes to recruiting purposes. It's so much to handle typically for one coach. I mean, you can see the stress on certain coaches. Like it is a 365-day job, like Hayes was talking about on Ty's show. It's like, dude, this thing it's nonstop action. So you got to have a full team in order for you to kind of handle it. And Courtney Morgan does a lot of the dirty work. He handles a lot of the dirty work, and that's what you need. You need somebody in the background. Maybe he's not going to get the notoriety. He's not going to be as notorious as DeBoer. He's not going to get he's not going to get the glitz and the glamour compared to some of these other guys. But Courtney Morgan is going to be a very, very important part of this football team and of this university in terms of getting us the recruits, in terms of just getting us all through the door. And I think that with Courtney Morgan being here, it's going to be a phenomenal partnership between him and the rest of the staff for the University of Alabama.
That's a whole fact, Coach. That's a whole fact, man. I talked about that, Coach. I talked about Coach DeBoer's words about Coach Saban. I talked about Coach DeBoer's words about how you turn a great roster, how you keep a great roster, and how you don't lose players. Talked about Caden Proctor and what Courtney Morgan said about Caden. And it's like Brandon Abercrombie said. I think Brandon Abercrombie had a great comment right here. Brandon said, he said, Coach KD trusts him. You can hear the loyalty in his voice for KD. They locked in. Yeah, they've been together a couple of stops, Brandon, and brought in some great players. Look at the players they had at Washington. Look at some of the players they had at Indiana, Fresno State, all these different places. So he's locked in, Coach Jay. He's locked in. Listen, Coach Jay, I'm going to get up out of here, bro. I got to help my daughter. She got a huge project tomorrow, and that's what she's beating daddy over the head right now. I got to make sure she keeps them grades up, man. So listen, shout out to the undefeated, man. You guys were great. Coach Jay's here to hit you over the head with some absolute great knowledge, as he usually does. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to all you guys. I appreciate you, Coach Jay. If you need me, holler at me, bro. And I hate to get out of here early on you, man, but I gotta help that little one, man, and you know, and try to get this knocked out, brother. You know.
No problem, man. No problem. Like I said, I was
Roll
here.
Tide.
Yep, Roll Tide.
Appreciate you.
Yes,
Roll
sir.
Tide, brother.
All right, guys. So it's just me. I'm in my solo dolo. Yeah, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Gent Sports, aka Gent716. Back here again. This time. Apologies. I was a little bit late. That's why I said I'm not worried. You know, Coach Sean. You know, he's got to do what he's got to do. I appreciate him for kind of sticking around for like a little bit longer. But yeah, before that, let's kind of take a look at the chat. Let's see who's here, because I know a lot of my people. Let's see, we got Corey P. Let's see, we got my boy Kareem Hood in the building, Tim Nolan. Let's see, we got Show. A lot of these dudes that's up in here. We also got 75 people in here. First of all, shout out to Coach Merrill. I think I've seen that he was on the morning segment a little bit. So shout out to Coach Merrill. Of course, I talked to him last night. We had a great segment with us, Hayes Fawcett. We had Coach Sean, we had Ty Hayes, we had Nino's Corner, which is more of a Texas content creator, but Nino's Corner, he was there. A great conversation. So if you guys I'm telling you guys, if you guys missed it, and you want to have a general idea of what we think about SEC schools, what we think about college football recruiting, the transfer portal, if you want to get into even the inside of Hayes Fawcett in terms of what he does, in terms of recruiting and the transfer portal, because he's the best in the business, and pretty much a lot of college football fans, they know who he is. If you guys don't, if you guys missed that interview, if you guys want to check it out, check out Around the Table Sports TV with Ty Hayes. And I'm telling you, it's the last kind of live stream that we did. It was great. I mean, it was supposed to be literally restricted to 1 hour. We went for around 3 hours. So definitely kind of check that out. But let's see who else we got in here. What else we got in here? Let's see, Buck, what's going on, brother? He says it's been a minute. What's going on? No, nothing much, man. Chilling. Nicole Covington, what's going on, Nicole Covington? Let's see, my boy Will in the building. Hacker Music. So we're just getting the usual suspects. All right. But I guess I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of what we kind of talked about with Around the Table Sports, and to just kind of bring some of those topics on here, because, I think that we've kind of heard it all a little bit here for when it comes to Alabama football in terms of previews. We talked about the defense. We talked about the offensive side of the ball. But we never really talked about the teams that could challenge Alabama, right? We never talked about, because, one of the biggest media staples going on right now is the fact that Alabama is considered to be an outlier to even winning the SEC championship. We're not even, the national championship, they're not even in the top 10 in terms of odds and favorites, right? Alabama, again, when Vegas has got them, I think around 12th. Last time it was 10th. They moved them back to 12th. When it comes to winning the SEC, they're around 4th or 5th. Matter of fact, LSU was even ahead of Alabama in terms of odds, which is one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. I'm going to talk about them. But what teams can challenge Alabama? What teams can literally put them in the dirt, right? Because right now, a bunch of these teams, they smell blood in the water, right? A lot of teams smell blood in the water, right? Nick Saban's gone. The entire coaching staff that Nick Saban kind of built here, for the most part, is gone. You look at Coach Kalen DeBoer, never coached in the SEC. Jamarcus Shepard, never coached in the SEC. Nick Sheridan, never really coached in the SEC. You look at Womack. His dad was at Ole Miss for decades, and Womack was here for a little bit of time, but for the most part, as a defensive coordinator, he's not been here. So it's going to be first time experience. You look at Coach Mogul. You look at Mo Linguist. He was at UB as a defensive back coach and as the head coach. Remember, a lot of you guys know I've talked to Coach Mo Linguist. I've met Mo Linguist. Great dude, great character. A lot of players respected him. Hasn't coached in the SEC though in a while. Right? Hasn't coached them. Right? He was at A&M. Didn't coach in the SEC for a while. So there's a lot of question marks about the coaching staff. There's a lot of question marks about the players. The fact that we almost lost around 30 players to the transfer portal. even though we've gained a lot of those players back, there's way more question marks about the University of Alabama compared to a lot of the other schools. That's why we're not, that's why we're 4th or 5th in the SEC odds. That's why we're, we're outside the top 10 when it comes to national championship odds. So, but I do have a problem. I do have a problem with some of the teams that are ahead of us. And one of those teams that I have an issue with is LSU, right? LSU being ahead of Alabama makes no sort of sense to me at all. Because LSU, if we want to talk about teams that have issues and teams that have problems, I think LSU has more question marks than Alabama right now in this current moment, right? You lose Jaden Daniels, you lose Brian Thomas, you lose Malik Neighbors, so you lose all your best playmakers. Yes, you have Mason Taylor, and pretty much the only notable name. And Louisiana has a lot of 4- and 5-star kids that are around the receiving position. But at the same time, though, Jaden Daniels with those receivers didn't just go off his first year, right? If anything, he was more of a rushing quarterback his first year, and in the second year, he was able to kind of develop more into a passing guy. And you saw Malik Neighbors, who had 1,000 the year previously, he erupted, and Brian Thomas, who, let's be honest, didn't really do that much, he erupted, right, because of the development and cadence of the offense. Now, I'll give credit to their quarterbacks coach, who was good. That dude knows how to develop QBs, but he's going to be taking over play calling duties for the first time in his career. And I just don't know. If the transition from a quarterbacks coach solely to now being an offensive coordinator, when you're changing a little bit of the philosophy, it's going to be different compared to their last OC that ended up kind of moving on. And remember, Brian Kelly fired that entire coaching staff with the exception of the offensive coordinator. He fired the entire staff, right? Because it was a mess. Yes, they won a lot of games, but they also lost games where honestly, it was kind of embarrassing, right? Jaden Daniels and that offense was carrying, and defensively, it was a mess. So honestly, for LSU to be ahead of Alabama, it makes no sense to me at all, because LSU has more, in my opinion, they have more deficiencies going into the season and more question marks than Alabama does. Again, this is one of those cases and one of those issues where I think, okay, yes, Bama did lose a lot, and we think that Kalen DeBoer and a lot of this type of stuff is going to go down the crapper. Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. Let's see. Could Wisconsin catch us off guard? They could. They could catch up with this. Wisconsin is a very interesting team. When you take a look at their coaching staff, a lot of Cincinnati products. It makes sense, right? You got Luke Fickell, who you got Luke Fickell, but you remember they brought in Alex Grinch. Who came from USC. He's going to be the co-defensive coordinator, right next to Mike Tressel. Now, Mike Tressel, son of Jim Tressel, he was okay last year as a defensive coordinator. Young, very, very young. Alex Grinch is the more experienced defensive coordinator, had some good stints, but Ohio State, it was considered a mess. It was, his first year or two at Oklahoma was solid, and then all of a sudden, third year was garbage. It was almost historically trash. Went to USC for about a couple years, historically bad, got fired, and now he's the co-defensive coordinator for Luke Fickell in that Wisconsin team. So you look at their offensive coordinator, Wisconsin, I'm not going to lie to you, a lot of people are looking at them and they're thinking it's going to be Brett Bielema-like. No, they actually ran a lot of air raid principles. Matter of fact, Wisconsin last year, they set their own record in terms of pass attempts. Now, they only threw for 2,800 yards, which in an air raid sort of scheme, that's not good at all. Again, the receiving play wasn't really great. Quarterback play with Tanner Mordecai wasn't really the best. But this is going to be the second year of that being implemented, and I wonder, will Wisconsin get better? They had to go through a transition offensively and defensively, and Wisconsin was 7-6. At the end, they had to rely on Braylon Allen to kind of carry the team, and even then, Braylon Allen got hurt. You look at their backup running back, he got hurt with the meniscus injury. So it was kind of a mess for Wisconsin offensively and defensively, but they also were able to kind of produce some. They were able to improve and get something better. Like, perfect example, their corner was an AP All-American. They had a defensive lineman who was like an AP All Big Ten player. But I don't know. Like this is one of those cases where you got a lot of players that left Wisconsin. They did bring in some players from to Wisconsin. And this is going to be the second year of them going from that transition of having an air raid sort of scheme and the defensive scheme that they ran. And so maybe you can catch a guard. I don't know. Texas has a more complete team than Alabama. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying, guys. Like when we take a look at these odds and we take a look at national championship odds, I don't mind Texas being ahead of us. I don't mind Ohio State being ahead of us. I do have an issue though with Missouri being ahead of us. I have an issue with Ole Miss even being ahead of us, and Ole Miss cleaned up the transfer portal. But you look at the roster that they had before compared to now, and I don't think they're on the same level as Florida State or Michigan. Right? Michigan used Michigan already had a very experienced roster, a very talented roster that was developed. They had a lot of second, third, fourth year guys that had a lot of playing time. And then they just added transfers on top of it to push them up and evaluate and elevate them to the next level. And it wasn't just last year's transfer class. They used the transfer class for 2 years. Like 2 years ago, their transfer class all stayed. So it was just built upon experience. And the same case with Florida State, right? 2022, they brought in the transfer portal. It helped Florida State and it propelled them to a 10-win football team. Not a lot of those dudes left. A lot of those dudes stayed. Then they stacked it upon bringing in another 23 recruiting transfer portal with a great recruiting class. And guess what? They ended up going undefeated. There's a lot more things that you have to do besides just having a great transfer portal class. Typically, the first class that comes in is not good, right? It doesn't really always produce on the football field. Normally, you have to kind of keep stacking them and hope that the transfer portal class that you had before stays. And so that's what Michigan and Florida State was able to kind of do. And for Ole Miss, right? Ole Miss, like last year, they had a solid transfer portal class. The issue is though, a lot of those dudes left. And so it's kind of new now. Like again, Ole Miss has a great recruiting class, great transfer portal. Oh no, not a great recruiting class, a great portal class to add on top of things like bringing in Princely. That's going to really, really help. But I don't know. Like I just, Ole Miss is kind of, you have to show me. Like Texas showed me. Ole Miss never really showed me that they can beat Bama. They never really did it. Like they showed the capability of doing it, but they haven't really produced it. And like I said, guys, I'm not the biggest fan of Jackson Dart, right? I love his upside. I think he has first round qualities, but he shrinks under the pressure. I'm just not the biggest fan of Jackson Dart, and I'm just a big believer that he's going to automatically, with the weapons he has now, just going to beat Alabama. Now, you got Lane Kiffin, who's one of the best offensive minds in the country, and it'll be very interesting to see how between the battle of Kane Womack and Lane Kiffin. But here's the thing that I think a lot of people tend to forget. Lane Kiffin has lost battles to Pete Golden relentlessly, right? Besides 2020 was a mess. 21, Alabama shut down Ole Miss. 22, Alabama shut down Ole Miss. And 23, Alabama shut down Ole Miss. Right? 2 years with Pete Golden. In the 1 year, of course, I forgot. And again, I'm forgetful of names, but of course, yeah, we brought in the veteran defensive coordinator that used to coach at Auburn, who coached here. But yeah, 3 years in a row, we've shut down that program, and they've had tremendous talent. So even I'm not really so again, as great as a offensive coordinator, offensive mind that Lane Kiffin is, I am not really like I'm not sold on that team. If there's any teams I'm sold on that I think is going to do better and I think can challenge Alabama, honestly, I think it's Texas. I really like Texas. Steve Sarkisian has proven. Steve Sarkisian does it against the best. Does it against the best of the best. He is, in my opinion, for the best play caller in college sports. I don't think anybody can touch him. And so I'm sold on that. I've seen him with Mac Jones. I've seen him during the USC days. I've seen what he did with Matt Ryan. I mean, Steve Sarkisian has a track record of having and producing and developing quarterbacks. So I'm sold on that dude with the talent that they brought in. LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri. I like Drinkwitz, had a great year. He's gonna have to show me again, right? You know, you don't have Cody Schrader. You lost 3 out of the 5 offensive linemen you have. Yes, you have Luther Burton and you have Theo Weiss. But your running game is going to be a question mark. Your quarterback in Brady Cook is solid. I think he's above average. I don't think he's elite in the college game. So honestly, like I said, I mean, the fact that we're 4th and 5th in SEC odds, I think that is totally disrespectful to Kalen DeBoer. Totally disrespectful. Lincoln Riley, not bad also. No, Lincoln Riley's good. He's good. Lincoln Riley's good. I don't think he's the best play caller though in college football. I think his scheme is primed for quarterbacks to kind of go in there and be and play exceptionally well. It doesn't work out for everybody, like Spencer Rattler. Like Spencer Rattler had to go to South Carolina, and I think South Carolina did a much better job of using his physical intangibles and it sucks because if Spencer Rattler would have went to a pro style team, I think he would have been a much higher draft pick in terms of his development. Not every quarterback can fit Lincoln Riley's scheme, right? You got to be mobile. You got to have some sort of athletic upside, and it's also a team that takes advantage of simple pass concepts, very very simple pass concepts, a little too simple, and so. I think from a play calling standpoint, from a play design standpoint, I don't think anybody touches Steve Sarkisian. I think Lincoln Riley's scheme is primed for quarterbacks. Sarkisian is the complete package. Everybody is exceptionally well. Their blocking concepts are better. The receiving concepts the passing concepts, the receiving and route concepts are out of this freaking world. I don't think anybody touches Steve Sarkisian. Right, Sark's offensive mind is insane. Yeah, it is. It is insane. But you can make an argument right below him in terms of offensive minds and in terms of maybe not in terms of. I would say from a philosophical standpoint would be DeBoer and the staff that he has, right? Nick Sheridan, Kalen DeBoer, Jamarcus Shepard. It's a full team, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Like you can go back and watch my videos. Right when I was talking about after the offseason, I was talking about in December, if we fired Sean McDermott, hire Kalen DeBoer, because I know Kalen DeBoer, he's bringing his entire team to the Buffalo Bills offensively, and Josh Allen in that offense is going to go on a different level. So Kalen DeBoer has the best team. I think he has the best team in college football, and I'm not talking about in terms of the football team, but in terms of his coaching staff. He has a hell of an offensive roster or offensive coaching staff that he just knows how to assemble. I think that's the difference. Steve Sarkisian can do it by himself. Literally, he can do it by himself. Lincoln Riley, like I said, his offense is tailor-made for quarterbacks to kind of walk in there, and I'm talking about athletic 5-star guys to walk in there and be exceptional. Kalen DeBoer is the best offensive coach in terms of his team, right? Receivers coach, offensive line coach, tight ends coach, running backs coach, whatever. He has an entire network of coaches that he has under his stable that can just slide it. That implement. I'm going to implement my offense, and these are the guys that are going to help me along the road that can make this offense be successful. And that's the good thing about having him here at Alabama, is that we can see already how impactful these coaches are when it comes to producing and developing talent. Because a lot of those dudes at Washington, and we've seen the result. 11 dudes got drafted. They even 11 dudes. They tied with Nick Saban. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm excited for. That's what I am excited for. Sark can transition better at college than pro. Yeah, I agree with that. He did his first year, he struggled at Atlanta. His second year, he got better. He got better with Atlanta, but No, he's a much better offensive mind, college coach than I would say a pro coach. No, he didn't. Remember, his second year with Matt Ryan, they were top 10 in the league. Actually, they were a top 10 offense. They were a top 5 passing offense. Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan put up crazy numbers under that offense. He did a good job. He did a good job, Ephraim. He did a really, really good job in Atlanta. But they did fire him, though. They did fire him. And this was post Kyle Shanahan. This was before I think Sark kind of came to Atlanta. So this was kind of post Kyle Shanahan. But yeah, just kind of going back down to the point in terms of if we're talking about betting odds, which teams truly should be in front of Alabama, I would take Texas for now. I'll slide in Georgia for now. I think Georgia on paper might be a better team right now. And then that's it. I would say we're probably third. I'm not putting LSU being in front of us. I think that's a travesty. Missouri has an argument based off of last year, but even then, I think a lot of people are underestimating the amount of talent that they lost. Not to mention that this was truly the first year that Missouri erupted since 2014 when they had Michael Sam and I forgot the other guy's name is, but he was a first-round pick. But that was since 2014. And then Ole Miss, I would say, again, you can put Ole Miss at 4th. You can put Missouri at 5th. LSU would be at 6th. And then Oklahoma will be at 7th, even though Oklahoma is dangerous. Oklahoma is a very dangerous team. I'm a big believer in that football program. When you have Budabar, listen, I love our offensive coaches, guys. I love our offensive coaches. But if there's one coach that I would trade my arm for to get him on this coaching staff, it's Budabar. Got Budabar, I would kill to get Budabar on this coaching staff. He is the best offensive line coach in college football, bar none. What he did with Oklahoma the last couple seasons is amazing. What he's done. He's produced 2 first-round picks, and the crazy part is the first one, who ended up going to Jacksonville, Harrison, had no prior experience at the left tackle position. Then you pick up Tyler Guyton, who had very few starts, and you make him transition and you make him into a first-round tackle. You look at what they did at guard. You look at what they did at center. It's crazy. The last couple years, it's been replacing 4 offensive linemen, and then the following year you replace 4 offensive linemen, and you're a lot better than the last time. Now you're replacing four offensive linemen again. It's crazy. Budabar has an amazing track record, guys. That is one coach I would trade my arm for if we can get him on this coaching staff to help with this offensive line for freaking sure. Because it doesn't matter who it is. I could step up in there, and Budabar can make me into an NFL draft pick. That's so I like Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's a very dangerous team. I like Jackson Arnold. I like the weapons they got on the outside with Jalil Farouk and Deion Burks. I think defensively they're underrated with Denny Stetzman. I'm a big fan of Jaron Kanak. I think he's going to be talented. He reminds me a lot of Peyton Wilson. They got talent, man. Right? That's the one team that's going to get shadowed a lot because of their that team being new. But yeah, that's the one team, man. That's the one team. They're going to be 7th. Sometimes they might be 8th, but I wouldn't say it's because of a lack of talent. I would say they're going to be there because that schedule is difficult. That's a very, very tough schedule, man, that they have. Right, and that's the reason, and that's the reason why they're going to be 7th or 8th right now. It's because of their schedule. That schedule is going to be brutal, man. But just because they're going to have a brutal schedule doesn't mean that they're going to that they're not capable of upsetting teams, right? Listen, I'll say this right here. I think we're on upset alert if we go to Norman. First time going to Norman, 100,000 fans, rough, raucous crowd, and then the Iron Bowl is the week after. The Iron Bowl is the week after. So it's kind of like, damn, it's one of those games where, yeah, Oklahoma can catch you off guard going into a ruckus, rough environment with the week prior being the Iron Bowl. I mean, the week after being the Iron Bowl. So that's one of those games, man. I got circled and saying we got to be very, very careful, very careful of. No, their defense is not elite, but they're tough. Their defense is not elite. No, their defense is not elite at all. But I will, and this is what I'll give Brent Venables a lot of credit. The strength for this team this season is going to be the defensive line. That's going to be the clear-cut strength of their football team. I think a lot of people look back at last year, rightfully so, and they'll look at the Kansas game where they rushed for like over 300 yards. They'll look at Texas. They'll look at a lot of these games, Oklahoma State, and say, I'm not too much of a believer in Oklahoma. Offensively, I can believe in this team, but defensively, I think this team's going to suck. Guys, I'm letting you guys know that defensive line, it's not going to be Michigan crazy, but it's going to be good. That defensive line is going to be the main strength of their team. Their secondary does have question marks. Really, the only guy that I trust fully is going to be Billy Bowman. I do like Danny Stetson. He's a machine. He's a tackling machine. But that defensive line, I think, is going to be it's going to be really, really improved. And I'll give Brent Venables a lot of credit. The last couple years, he has slowly but surely built an SEC fronts. He's built an SEC front on both the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. The offensive line is SEC worthy, and he did it in less than 2 years. Now the defensive line, which has not been SEC ready quite yet, I think is now. I think if you look at their size, I think if you look at a lot of the RAS score, a lot of the athletic profile, a lot of those players, in terms of recruiting, what they did the last couple of years of getting top 10 recruiting, getting top 5 recruiting classes, I got to give Oklahoma a lot of credit. They did a really good job in terms of building the offensive and defensive presence. And if you want to survive in the SEC, that's what you got to do. You got to build up the trenches. Trench warfare matters. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I'm a believer in Oklahoma. Maybe not in terms of they're going to get around 11 or 12 wins and make the playoffs. But I am a believer that team could be dangerous in about 2 or 3 years for sure. Bama hasn't won a natty in 4 years with Nick. Why is there so much confidence that DeBoer will get it done with 65% of his wins coming from NIA competition? Well, the reason why we're confident in Kalen DeBoer was because he just coached in the national championship. He beat the team that beat us in the regular season while we were at home. Yes, 65% of his wins was in a different league, but at the same time though, Kalen DeBoer also has one of the best win-loss ratios when coaching at the Power 5 level. And I think that's what it's all about, right? He did solid at Indiana. He did solid at Fresno, and he did solid. And he did. I mean, look what he took a 4-win football team, turned that into 11 wins, and the following year they went 14-1 and beat the team that beat us in the regular season handily. So I think that's why people are so confident, is because if Kalen DeBoer can take a 4-win football team, transition that team to win 11 games, then imagine what he can do. Yes, the roster we lost close to 30 scholarship players. Yes, we lost some impactful players to the NFL draft. But this is the most talented roster he's ever had. So that's why a lot of people are confident because of because of Kalen DeBoer's history, what he's already achieved, and now coming into Alabama, knowing the circumstances that he's went through, he can definitely become better. Right, and this pretty much sums up what I just said right here, guys. He's 25-3. When you go 25-3 at Washington, you deserve a lot of respect. And listen, you're not the only person that has question marks about Kalen DeBoer and about Alabama in terms of why they're going to be successful. I mean, look at me. I'm leaning more towards it. We can go as high as 11-1, maybe even undefeated in the regular season. And there's a big chance we can go 9-3 or even 10-2. I'm not ruling out those possibilities. I'm not even ruling out that factor because this is not going to be an easy schedule for us. We could be primed for upsets. It happens every single year. So, but this is also one thing that I would definitely say though is that I'm not going to be the person that's going to sit up here and say that Kevin DeBoer is going to fail. I think it's good to have questions. And like I said, that's not the most. Again, I don't think that's a hateful comment or anything like that. Trust me, I've seen haters. I've seen people say that think that we're going to go 7-5 or 6-6 and some ridiculous crap like that. So trust me, I've seen worse. But I think it is good to have questions about this team. Let's see, we got a Bama member from Finn. Finn became a Bama member. Appreciate you so much, brother. What do you say here? He says Bama shouldn't have gotten in over Florida State, period. And DeBoer didn't bring Penix with them, not to mention what the best quarterback can do. Michael Penix wasn't. See, this is the thing I got to say about this. Michael Penix had that 1 year in 2020 where he was good. But here's the crazy part about this: who was Michael Penix's offensive coordinator? It was Nick Sheridan. Nick Sheridan was his offensive coordinator. Nick Sheridan is now with the University of Alabama. So again, DeBoer isn't Sarkisian, and DeBoer isn't Lane Kiffin. I talked about this before. Kalen DeBoer, is he an offensive mind? Yes. But Kalen DeBoer also, in my opinion, I think he's the best manager, right? I think he plays the manager role in terms of forming a offensive coaching staff that can develop players better than anybody. Better than, I think, Kiffin, and I think better than Sarkisian. I think Sarkisian can be a one-man band if he wants to. I think Lane Kiffin, from a play-calling standpoint, is brilliant. But Kalen DeBoer, in terms of managing his coaching staff and putting the players in the right position to be successful and to succeed in terms of and develop, Kalen DeBoer already has that track record. And so even if we want to sit up here and say, well, let's be honest, Jabbar Muhammad was not known to be really, really well. Their defensive line wasn't great. Braylon Trice wasn't considered to be a generational talent. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of these dudes were. Roma Dunze wasn't considered to be great 2 years ago. Jalen Polk was a backup. Jalen Polk was a backup receiver before he got well known, and he ended up being a second-round receiver. Their slot receiver, who ended up going in the 4th round, got hurt. But he wasn't a well-known commodity until Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan and Ryan Grubb and the rest of that coaching staff got to Washington. So that's what we're just trying to say. I mean, the track record is there. Now, again, we can make the argument whether or not Kalen DeBoer knows what the hell he's doing from a play calling standpoint. It is what it is. But we can't deny that dude is a fantastic manager. He knows how to manage his coaching staff. He knows how to manage the players, and he knows how to form a coaching staff that can develop. I don't think that can be denied. I don't think that can be deniable. Downs left. Kool-Aid is with the Saints. Terran Arnold is gone. Night Black is gone. Come on, bro. Bama will be 9-3 at best. Just my opinion. And other than brand name dependency, should miss the college football playoffs. Well, I will ask you, Bama hater, who do you think we're going to lose to? Where do you think the 9-3 comes from? Because like I said, I'm leaning towards. I've been on record and I've said 9-3 is a possibility, 10-2 is a possibility, but the ceiling of this team going undefeated or having one loss going into the conference championship, it is what it is. But again, I mean, Bama can go 10-2, and that literally can get them into the playoffs. You don't have to go undefeated and have one loss to get in. You can go 10-2. So I would ask you, where do you think the losses come from? Like, who do you think we're going to lose to, right? 9-3 at worst, and then 11-1 or 10-2 more likely. That's what I would agree, Matt Farms. That's what I would agree. All right, Corey, man, have a good night. But yeah, that's what I would definitely say is, 9-3 would be the worst. I mean, if we go 9-3, worst case scenario, it is what it is. And again, that would be because of roster dependency. That would be roster dependency. And if anything, I don't think it'll be bad if we go 9-3. I'm not going to be mad about it because I can understand why we did it. You know what I'm saying? Missouri, Georgia, Tennessee. See. So here's my question about this schedule. Georgia, I can understand. Missouri, I can understand. Oklahoma, I'll even throw in Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is more understandable. I think that game could be an upset. But again, this is the pushback. And this is what we've been talking about all segment, guys. Missouri lost 3 starters off their offensive line. They lost their best running back, and then defensively, you lose 2 key starters on your defensive line. Their second, on the defensive line, you lose Ennis Rickstraw, who is one of the best secondary players in the country, right? So my question is for Missouri, besides Luther Burden and Theo Weiss, why is Missouri considered in the conversation of beating Bama, right? Oklahoma, and I think that could be an upset, but Oklahoma has their question mark. We just talked about this in chat. Defensively, I think their defensive line is going to be pretty good, but that's in theory. That's because of the amount of returning starters that they got last year, and they showed a lot of promise and they showed a lot of pop. But the fact of the matter is, they've had way more bad games than good games defensively. And so their secondary, you lose key pieces in your secondary. Defensive line-wise has its question marks. Offensive line-wise, listen, as long as Bitterbauer is there, that offensive line is going to be good. As long as Bitterbauer, their offensive line coach, is there, that offensive line is going to be good. But Jackson Arnold has question marks. The rushing game has question marks. Okay, Bama hater, I was just about to get to LSU. LSU, with the exception of their offensive line, why is LSU a part of the conversation? Who does LSU have at receiver? Who does LSU have at receiver? Seriously, you lose Malik Neighbors and you lose Brian Thomas Jr. Who do they have at receiver that can be a conventional factor? Who can scare Alabama? Because besides that, from a production standpoint, they don't have the receivers. They don't. From a production standpoint, they don't have the receivers. The defensive line, you just lost Mason Smith. You just lost Makai Wingo. Your best defensive lineman coming back is going to be Jacoby Ngulor. It's going to be Jacoby Ngulor from a defensive standpoint. Harold Perkins is going back to – he's playing back. He's not playing at will, guys. He's going back to Mike, which he played terribly at in the Florida State game. Their secondary was a disaster last year. Right. I mean, they brought the A&M safety and Gilbert. Gilbert was okay. Like, LSU's defense is trash. Not to mention that Brian Kelly fired 90. He literally cleared out that entire coaching roster. Yes, he brought in Bo Davis. Yes, he brought in Corey Raymond. But let's be honest here, guys. They're not going to make a big transition from year one off the gate. So LSU has more question marks than Alabama does, in my personal opinion. Tennessee has question marks, right? I've seen Tennessee. Tennessee has question marks. The offensive line-wise, you only returned 3 starters on your offensive line. You lost your best running back in Jalen Wright. Look at I think the receivers are going to be good. I like the receivers. But defensive line-wise, that defensive line is going to be weaker. I mean, that defensive line, you got James Pierce. Who else is a part of that defensive line? You lost 2 key starters, including Tyler Barron to the transfer portal. Their secondary is garbage. Tennessee's secondary is complete and utter trash. So besides the defensive line, who even they lost key defensive linemen and key starters, why is Tennessee a part of that conversation? Why? Because part of the conversation, Tennessee has question marks too. Really, the only team, there's 2 teams that you can sit up here and say, offensively and defensively, it's key strengths all over the place. That's Georgia and that's Texas, because Texas has major factors in the secondary returning. They have major factors at linebacker. They have major factors on defensive line. And of course, you have Steve Sarkisian with the offense, second best offensive line in the country. The running back room is great. The receiving room is really, really good. And then you return back Quinn Ewers. And even if Quinn sucks, you have 2 quarterbacks, and Arch Manning and the other, and I forgot the other guy's name. He's there. Georgia, for obvious reasons. So I don't know. Like, I just like a lot of these teams have question marks, Bama hater. Right, Matt. Like, right, Matt Farms. Like, what do you say? Bama barely beat unranked Arkansas, Texas A&M by a total of 7 points needed. Let's see. We defended phone to beat. Okay. Bama hater. Georgia almost lost to Auburn. Georgia almost lost to Auburn. Tennessee lost to bad teams. Ole Miss got smacked by Alabama. They got smacked by Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Oklahoma lost to Oklahoma State, and they lost to Kansas. Texas lost to the same coach that's coaching at the University of Alabama. Like, if we're gonna take the barely beat teams and barely survive argument, why can't we make the argument that Alabama smoked Ole Miss? Why can't we make the argument that Bama beat Georgia in the SEC championship game? And then you're not taking into consideration, well, who was our offensive coordinator? It was Tommy Rees, a young Tommy Rees. Like, every team has question marks. Every team had to deal with a lot of adversity. But I don't know. I think that's a late. If we're gonna take into account last year, I mean, again, this is a completely different roster compared to what we had last year. Right. Miami lost the game because they didn't know how to kneel. Wait, what are you saying? You're deflecting from how bad Bama played against Arkansas A&M, 6-5 Auburn, and only had 3 points near the end of the third quarter versus South Florida. Well, Bama hater, we're just gonna have to see, man. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think we're gonna have to see. We're just gonna have to see. I mean, that's just point blank and period. Again, if we're not taking into an account the positives, I mean, like I said, it's good to argue the negatives. I don't mind arguing against the cons, because trust me, I don't think there's anybody in terms of this panel that has argued against Bama more than me. Right? I'm the person that chose Michigan to beat Bama. I chose Michigan to beat Bama, and a lot of people tore me up. I trust me. When it comes to seeing the light, I can see the light. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to tell the truth about Alabama. Alabama has question marks. I think their secondary has major question marks. Their quarterback room, their quarterback depth has question marks. You bring in Deshaun Jones, who, let's be honest, Deshaun Jones is kind of average, right? Like, you bring in the Charlotte player. You do bring in the Penn State player who's going to be more. I think he's going to be more of a Husky Rover sort of player. But I also can acknowledge the things that's going to make Bama better. The defensive line, their defensive tackle group might be one of the best in the country. You return back two key starters in Jahad Campbell, who came in the second half of the season, and Bama's defense played extremely well. You brought in Deontay Lawson. The offensive line, you have the best interior offensive line in the country, returning back with Jaden Roberts and Tyler Booker, and you bring in Parker Brailsford, who was a freshman All-American player, who destroyed Tavondre Sweat in the Sugar Bowl. You're bringing in one of the best offensive minds and one of the best offensive coaching staffs in college football compared to what we had last year with Tommy Rees. And that was Jalen Miro's first year as a starting quarterback. Like, we're not taking into a lot of things into consideration. We're not taking things into a lot of consideration. And think about this. Despite Bama almost losing to those teams that you just named, Alabama almost went to the national championship. They were literally a series away from beating Michigan. They're literally a series away from beating Michigan, the best team in the country that went 15-0. That was that same team. So I don't know. Like, again, there's pros, there's cons about every team. Ole Miss has question marks. Missouri has question marks. But we're not taking into consideration, what did Missouri lose? They lost a lot. What did LSU lose? They lost a lot. They lost their entire coaching staff. That's not going to be an easy transition. You know? So again, really besides Georgia and Texas, I can't think of another program that is as stable and didn't really lose as much compared to what a lot of these other teams did, including us. No, Bama hater. That's not what I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the overtime. What I'm talking about is that Bama literally was a 4th down play away from winning the game. Not when it was 2020, when it was 20-13, when Michigan had the ball to drive that drove when they drove down the field to tie the game up. They were literally a play away from winning the game. They were a 4th and 8 conversion away from winning the game. Because if Bama's defense would have made a key stop there, Bama's offense got the ball back. Michigan had 1 timeout remaining. Bama kneeled. Bama wins the game. Bama wins the game. Like that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the overtime. I'm talking about when Bama had the lead 2013 and Michigan's driving down the field with less than 3 minutes. They were a 4th and 8 away from winning the game. And not just that, there were multiple occasions throughout that drive where it led to where it was 4th down. It was 4th and 8, and then the other one was 4th and 5. If Bama's defense get a stop, they win the game. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the overtime. I'm not talking about the overtime. And even then, we can go back when Jalen Miro fumbled the ball. The amount of mishaps that happened with Seth McLaughlin literally snapping the ball under Jalen Miro and over Jalen Miro's head. The amount of miscues we had in that game, honestly, we could have blew that team out. Despite us having an average to subpar offense. That's what people are not getting. We had the amount of success that we did despite us having a subpar offense. The defense really carried the team to 12 wins last year, not the offense. And this is what people are not understanding and what they're not getting. Despite everything that happened, there were 2 times in the game where they were a 4th down away from winning the game. Miami hasn't been relevant since Ed Reed and Sean Taylor and quit. Okay, let's say I don't know if he's a Miami fan. If he's a Miami fan, I'm just gonna say good luck to that. Good luck to them. I'm just gonna say that. Good luck to them if he's a Miami fan. They should win 10, 11 games, no problem. They should win 11 games, no problem. It's literally one of the easiest schedules of all time. Literally one of the easiest Power 5 schedules ever. So hopefully they'll be successful. We'll see what they do. Bama hater. I didn't complain. I didn't complain. I'm making the statement that Bama's roster right now still is good enough for them to get into the playoffs. It still is good enough. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but it's good enough. A lot of the key players that played in that game that almost beat Michigan, the national champion, are still on this roster. That's my point. I didn't complain. I didn't sit up and say, Bama, Michigan sucks and all like that. But Alabama had they had the capability to win that game. It didn't happen. Michigan won. They're the national champions. They won that game. They won that game far out. But the whole point of me even touching on it was because I think that you think that Bama's gonna flat out and just lose. And then you bring up teams like Missouri and LSU and Oklahoma, and I'm like, dude, all these teams have question marks. LSU just lost their entire coaching roster. LSU just lost 3 first-team All-Americans, including a Heisman Trophy winner. LSU had one of the worst defenses in the country. And you think that LSU is just gonna come in and just beat Bama outright? Based off of what? Who do they have back returning from a coaching standpoint and from a player standpoint that's gonna threaten Alabama? That's gonna threaten about Alabama when we play them. Besides Luther Burton, which player from Missouri can threaten Alabama? Seriously, I don't think Brady Cook. From Ole Miss. I didn't make excuses. Didn't make excuses, Bama hater. Didn't make it. I literally just gave credit to Michigan for winning the game. Just gave credit for Michigan winning the game. All I said was that the roster that Bama has coming from that game that competed against Michigan to a point where they almost won it. A lot of those players are back on this roster. Because Michigan, guess what, Bama hater, and maybe you'll appreciate this. A lot of the players that just won the national championship from Michigan's roster, they're gone. But yet they're favorited to make it to the college football playoffs. Why is Michigan one of the favorites to make it to the playoffs? Because guess what? Despite Alabama's transfers, despite the amount of transfers that left Alabama's returning roster is more than Michigan's roster, despite our losses. So why is Michigan in that context? Why are they the favorites and why are we not the favorites? Think about that. They just lost Jim Harbaugh. They just lost Mike McDaniel, the best defensive coordinator in the country. All they did was bring back, really the only true essential piece was Sharon Moore, who was the offensive line coach / assistant coach. That's it. Again, if you want to say Georgia can beat Bama, fine. If you think that Texas can beat Alabama, I might be right there with you. I love Texas as a football team. But guess what? We don't play Texas. And here's another thing too, Bama hater. We don't play Ole Miss. We play Missouri, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and LSU. Those are our 4 toughest teams. And guess what? I'm not throwing in Auburn in the discussion. Because despite us barely beating Auburn, look at the track record of Alabama versus Auburn games in the Iron Bowl. The close games happen on the road for us. The blowout games happens when they come to Tuscaloosa. And that's a straight up fact. Bama lost Nick, and in my opinion, Georgia and Texas will run the SEC for years to come, and this year's Ole Miss. Well, guess what? We'll see. We'll see what Ole Miss can do. I mean, we'll see what Ole Miss can do. Listen, if we want to talk about, if we want to give credit, where credit is due, Ole Miss has a great roster. They do. They have a really good roster. But here's my thing. When was the last time Ole Miss produced a top 10 recruiting class? Yes, the last couple years they brought in great transfers. They've had great transfer rankings. When was the last time Ole Miss was able to produce a top 10 recruiting class? Because guess what? The teams that had great transfer rankings, the teams that won national championships and won a lot of games, they've also had great recruiting classes to add on top of it. Bama hater, and this is where I think you're not getting. I'm making the point of saying a lot of the teams that are on our schedule have more question marks than we do. It's clear and obvious you don't think that Alabama is going to make it to the SEC championship game. That's fine. But I'm countering your point. I'm saying, well, why don't you think it? And then you gave your arguments, you gave your reasoning. You said Nick Saban, which is fine, right? Again, we don't even know what Kalen DeBoer is going to bring to the table. We haven't seen it in a real life game situation. We've seen it for spring ball. We haven't seen it when it actually truly matters. But if your reasoning is going to sit up here and say, well, you guess what? You lost a lot of players to transfer portal. And then I counter back and said, well, yes, we lost a lot of players to the portal into the NFL draft. Yes, but we still have a better roster on paper in terms of returning production than the defending national champions, Michigan. And Michigan is projected to make it to the playoffs. They're projected to even win the Big Ten again, even over Ohio State. So, I mean, like, Bama Hater, let's think about this. From a coaching standpoint, Kalen DeBoer just coached in a national championship game. He went 25-3 with Washington. He went 11-2 his first year with a 4-8 roster, and then he went 14-1 his second year with less talent than Alabama and beat Sarkisian. And he's coming here with a much with 85% of that same offensive coaching staff that came from Washington. He's bringing them over to Bama. So you keep the returning production. You bring in the coaching staff that just coached the national championship game. You have one of the easiest SEC schedules, because this is one of the easiest SEC schedules. Every team on that schedule, besides Georgia, has major question marks about their team. So honestly, again, if you don't think we're going to make it to the SEC championship game, I will have to counter and say, well, what do you believe? What does LSU have over Bama? What does Ole Miss have over Alabama? What does Missouri have over Alabama? What does Oklahoma have over Alabama? What does Auburn have over Alabama? And what does Tennessee have over Alabama, which is going to make you believe that those teams can actually beat us? Because all I've done is literally counter the points that you've tried to make. And then you say that I'm making excuses. Coach Jay, don't even waste your time. Don't even waste your time with the Meyer Hater. Oh, I mean, listen. I love debating. I love debating. That's one of the things that honestly, I listen. One of the biggest reasons why I got into content creation, I love debating. I love debating with fans. Especially when it comes to my team and I love debating. So I don't mind the engagement. I think it's more fun. It creates more content. I don't mind the debate. I don't mind it. But like I said, guys, if we're going to bring in reasons of why Alabama is not going to make it to the playoffs, which again, there are some good reasons why I think why we won't make it. There's some good reasons. But again, when people say, well, we think LSU, it's like earlier, when LSU's ahead of Bama, based off of what? What does LSU have that Bama doesn't have? Oh, well, LSU has Brian Kelly. Okay, and who are his coaches? Well, he has Corey Raymond and he has Bo Davis. Okay, who else does he have? They can't answer the question. Like, Brian Kelly fired 95% of that coaching. He fired that coaching staff. He fired an entire tree line because of how pissed poor they were. Oh, we think Missouri is going to beat Bama. Okay, well, based off of what? Oh, well, Missouri won 11 games last year. Okay, well, who are the returning starters? Oh, Luther Burton, Theo Weiss, Brady Cook, and then that's it. They don't know who else is on that roster. They don't know any other impactful player that's on that roster. You lose 3 out of the 5 starters in your offensive line. Your defense, who wasn't even that good to begin with, loses its best defensive players, including Darius Robinson and Rakestraw. Who do you have? You didn't bring in a great recruiting class. You didn't bring in a great transfer portal class. Who do you have? And then here's my favorite. Here's my favorite that a lot of fans and a lot of analysts love to say: Tennessee. We think Nico Lemay-Oliva is going to be phenomenal, and I think Nico's going to be a tremendous quarterback in college. I like him with the pairing of Josh Heupel. But the strength of their team wasn't their offense last year. The strength of their team was their defense. Their secondary was garbage last year, and it's garbage now. You lose 2 more starters to the transfer portal. The only great notable name that you have is freaking James Pierce. That's it. The offensive line is going to be good. You do lose Jalen Wright, your most explosive running back, so that sucks. But I like the receivers. I like Sproul Wright. You bring back Brew McCoy. They got players. But Tennessee has more question marks than we do when it comes to returning production and efficient returning production. Like the teams that sit up there and say, well, these teams are going to give Bama the most fits, you counter them by saying, well, wait a minute. I'm looking at this roster and I'm looking at this coaching staff. Why do you think that this coaching staff and roster is going to be better than Bama? And you'll just get the most dumbest excuses imaginable. And it's like, well, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know. Right, and even LeMayer Leva, he has question marks. He's a redshirt freshman that's played 1 game in his starting career, and it was in a bowl game. Like he has question marks. Like this is the one part, ladies and gentlemen, and unfortunately for us, we're gonna have to deal with this up until season kickoff. This is just one of the things I hate about college football. It's the off-season talk, and it's projection. Because we will project players that have never played a significant snap in their lives, and yet we will project them of being Heisman Trophy contenders or them pushing the envelope of their teams. This is the one part of college football I don't like. Like you look, who are the best teams? It's Tennessee. Why? Oh, because of Nico Lomaya-Leva. Well, based off of what? Well, because Josh Heupel was the head coach. Okay, well, what did Josh Heupel do with Josh Heupel do with Milton? Well, he almost beat Alabama. Like this is what you'll hear, and it's dumb. Ah, boy. Now I'm hot. Well, like I said, listen, it was good engagement. Bama hater, if you're still in here, brother, no hate, no hatred. No hatred. It was a great discussion, great debate. Like to have you anytime here on the show. You don't mind it, trust me, I don't mind the engagement. Keeps me entertained, keeps me entertained. I don't mind the engagement. Right, and again, like it's a lot of it is based off of the media. A lot of it is based off of the media. A lot of it is just based off of the media. Shout out to Patriot Life. He gifted 5 gifted subs. Shout out to Patriot Life, man. Appreciate you so much, brother. But a lot of it, Roll Tide Patty, it's based off of the media, right? Like what? And I gotta share it. I gotta figure out a way to share it. But there was something. So somebody made a list of top 10 college football head coaches. And they put Josh Heupel at number 7. Kalen DeBoer wasn't even in the top 10. So unfortunately, guys, and I think this is where we're gonna end it. There is gonna be a big bias against Bama. There's going to be a huge bias against Alabama for this offseason. You're going to see a lot of articles. You're going to see a lot of things on X or on social media that literally hypes up every other team besides us. And it's a lot of it has to do with Nick Saban pretty much forming his evil empire with Alabama. And a lot of it simply has to do with the fact that, yeah, we do have question marks. But the fact that Kalen DeBoer isn't even a part of the top head coaching discussion, the fact that this team isn't even really considered to even win, we are literally against the odds. for national championship odds, for SEC odds. I've seen as low as us being 6 in terms of SEC odds. A lot of people don't believe in Alabama, and unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with the fact that we simply are just hated by a lot of people in the college football community. And it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So this is the exciting part about this. Is the again, I hate this the most about the offseason, but at the same time, it's the one thing that I actually do like about the offseason is the fact that we get to engage with a lot of these fans. Because by the time the season rolls around, and a lot of their favorite teams that are in the preseason top 10 or in the preseason top 25, and all of a sudden the season starts and they suck, and all of a sudden we get to just be at the top still. It just makes everything sweeter. It just makes everything that much sweeter. Man, I'm doing well, Patriot Life, man. I'm doing well, brother. Appreciate you, brother. Nico getting all the hype. Exactly. He's getting all the hype. He's getting all the hype, which is fine. Colorado, they're getting all the hype. Fine. Who else is getting a lot of hype? Ohio State's getting a lot of hype. It is what it is. I give Texas a crap ton of hype. We'll see if they get to live up to what their first year being in the SEC. Ole Miss is getting a lot of hype. We'll see what they do, right? The Glizzy Gobbers. We'll see what Ole Miss does. We used to hate that. That's why it's gotten to be so sweet when Alabama. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it's a more refreshing feeling. Yeah, Arch Manning. I have never seen a backup quarterback get as much hype as Arch Manning is. But yeah, Chris. I mean, this is what makes it refreshing. This is what makes it refreshing. It makes this a much refreshing experience because for the first time since 2008. We are truly against the odds. Like the worst year with Nick Saban being here, the worst year. Like even like 2007, we were projected to, we were favored by a lot of teams, maybe not to win the SEC and win the national championship, but we were favored at least by a lot of teams to have an exceptional year. Like win 9 games, win 10 games. That was the expectation going into the 2007 season. I would probably say since 2008. We are literally against the odds. People don't believe in us. And it's a refreshing feeling. It truly is a refreshing feeling. And something that I definitely welcome. Because it's gonna fuel these players and it's gonna fuel this entire university to do what they need to do. I like when Bama gets criticized. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. And listen, Tennessee fan. And you know what's funny? With that whole controversial crap with Florida State about us buying the committee and buying the referees, it's hilarious because the only fan base that joined hand in hand with Florida State was Tennessee fans. Like Tennessee fans, I mean, I have never seen, like on YouTube, there were so many collaborations between Tennessee fans and Florida State fans talking crap about Alabama and how they bought it. It was ridiculous. It was a lot of the top Tennessee YouTubers and content creators joining hands with Florida State fans. I'm like, damn. These guys have formed. It's like we're the Axis powers and they're the allies. Like it's World War II. It's like the Soviet Union joining hands with Germany and the U.S. What the hell is going on? But it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Like I said, we're against the odds. A bunch of people don't believe in us. We're just gonna have to prove them wrong. And like I said, guys, this is what the criticism that we got today, guys, that we got during the segment. This is from a lot of fans outside of Alabama. He doesn't represent just Miami fans. He represents the majority outside of Alabama football nation. That's what they represent. They think that we're done. And I'm down for it. I'm down for it, guys. No, Bama hater, brother. Like I said, brother, we appreciate you, brother. We appreciate you. Like I said, come back again. Definitely come back again because I love engaging. I love engaging. I love debating. I think it's great. And it causes great conversation. It causes great conversation because, like I said, Bama hater, you're not the only person that thinks that. You are not the only person. You in a way, you represent the majority of fans that think this way about Bama. Like we are the minority. So trust me, I don't mind you. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all, brother. I don't mind it. And honestly, like I said, I love being in this role. I love being in this role when we can prove people wrong by the time they end the season. I love proving people wrong. Because people didn't believe in us last year when people thought we weren't going to get into the playoffs. Oh, how sweet was that? When we killed Georgia fans for that next week after when we beat the brakes out of them in the SEC championship game. It was a sweet thing too. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Like I said, we got to keep people wrong, and I'm confident that we can do it. But if we can't do it, it is what it is. I think this is the thing about this year. I don't think there's a lot of pressure on Alabama this year. I don't think there's a lot of pressure on this team. I don't think there's a lot of pressure on this coaching staff. Fans know it can be as worse as 9-3, and it can be best as undefeated. But this year, I don't think there's going to be extremely high expectations. And I think that's the sweet thing about being the underdog. There's no expectations. And it's only going to make it that much sweeter if we can actually achieve what we need to do. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna hop out of here. I'm gonna make some grub and for the most part pop out and just come back tomorrow. But like I said, guys, we love being in the underdog role. I love it a lot. Bama hater, make sure to come back to the chat. Love having this engagement. All the usual suspects, Patriot Life, Ephraim, Tim Nolan, a lot of you guys in here, brother. We appreciate you so much for even being here. And like I said, catch tomorrow. Kyle Henderson will be back. I think Jake Merrill will be going on the morning segments. Sean will be there. Ty will be there, and then of course I'll be on the evening. I'm gonna have to kind of change some things up. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna catch you guys later. Wait for like Ty says, man, we're gonna wait for the usual suspect, which is the spinning wheel of doom.